Well, the Democrat whisperer is sounding the alarm for his party's future. Barack Obama is whipping the Democrats back into shape and doing so from the comfort of a private, closed-press fundraiser. The former president telling donors, quote, "I think it's going to require a little bit less navel-gazing and a little less whining and being in fetal positions. And it's going to require Democrats to just toughen up." And Obama isn't the only power player issuing Democrats a warning. Billionaire Mark Cuban is urging candidates to focus on policy instead of just being an alternative to Trump. Listen.
It's just Trump sucks. That's the underlying, thought of everything the Democrats do. Trump sucks. Trump says, the sky is blue. Trump sucks. You can't, that's not the way to win. It's just not, because it's not about Trump. It's about the people of the United States of America and what's good for them.
Jesse, an amazing and totally accurate point. So where was that during the election? Not that we missed it.
Yeah, I mean, he said that for years. I have an idea for Democrats. So usually if you want to get attention, you need to create conflict because that's what the media does. We just air conflict. And if there's no conflict, we won't give it any attention. So how do you create conflict without going after Donald Trump? Here are some suggestions. You go after Trump cabinet secretaries, all right? And you make issues out of what they're doing. Or you go after other Democrats. Let the primaries start now. Go after Newsom or, go after Fetterman. Go after somebody. The media will gobble that up. Or you go after some foreign leader. Take an axe to Chi or go after the cartels or something. Get yourself banned from travel somewhere, okay? And then go after some CEO. Go after some big fat cat CEO that's just like hurting his workers and just running up prices. Go after that guy. And then you go on Rogan and you laugh at yourself. That is the recipe for getting attention without going after Donald Trump. Because every time you clash with Trump, you lose, and you look like you don't care about the rest of the American people.
And we've talked a lot about how the Democrats are trying to find the answer to Trump. They're trying to find the analog to him. But part of Obama's comments, too, he said, stop looking for the quick fix. Stop looking for the Messiah. You have a great candidates running races right now. Just focus on what you have in front of you.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, if you listen to Obama and you look at these inorganic protests, they say you have to have courage, rally, act, resist, but they don't. For what? What is the actual issue? When Trump owns every issue 80-20 by almost every metric, from the economy to crime to immigration, where are you? The high ground maneuver of common sense has relegated it into more extreme measures. Ask Obama, okay, where do I apply this courage? What space do I park it in? Should I double down on trans dudes in women's sports? Should I back the attacks on ICE? Should I show courage on those things? No, it won't work. As for Mark Cuban, I don't know why he doesn't apply the same mentality that he uses on Shark Tank with Democrats. Because that was what was great about Trump, is that, he forced the party to react to him. And it's like Cuban just dropped his whole common sense when it came to the Democratic Party. He should imagine the Democratic Party showing up in Shark Tank, hello, sharks, I want 100% investment. And they have to describe it. Well, we hid a decrepit president who was brain dead, replaced him without a primary with a day drunk and a goofball. We think dudes can be moms. We think borders are stupid and criminals are misunderstood. We hate men unless they're in skirts. We love women until they have kids. We can divide a country by race, gender, and politics. And, if you're looking for riots or if you're looking for looting, we're the people. And then, right then, Cuban would say, I'm out. But that's exactly what the Democratic Party is. But somehow he didn't say this stuff. He was always equivocating on every issue.
So, Dana, maybe this is why the Democrat Party has a 35% approval rate right
well,
now.
I felt, first of all, anytime President Obama speaks or Michelle Obama speaks, it's going to get headlines. Okay, so he's at an event and it's open press. So he gives a message that's like any of us could say, yeah, toughen up. It's not really great advice. It reminds me of when Biden and Harris told Putin not to invade Ukraine. They said, don't. They said, if you're thinking of crossing the border illegally, don't. And none of that mattered. The other messages that the Democrats have received lately are not only just get tough, curse more, make a stupid video, or get shot. That was the advice last week. That would be one way to toughen up, I suppose. But the one thing that you mentioned, how Trump made the party react to him. What Democrat right now is making other fellow Democrats do that? It's only Mamdani. And why? Because he's not out there every day saying, Trump sucks, Trump sucks. He's saying, I'm going to freeze your rent. Now, that's insane, but he has some sort of like a policy idea. All of these guys, the reason Mark Cuban, I think, is frustrated is because there's a frustration and a hatred of Trump. And if they just channeled that into something like, here's our opportunity program for America, 1, 2, 3, whatever it might be, but they don't do that. And every president leads to the next one, right? So Clinton paved the way for Bush, Bush paved the way for Obama. Obama paved the way for Trump 1.0. And his vice president ended up paving the way for Trump 2.0. So if I were Democrats, I'd be trying to maybe look to the future and figure out a way to deal with the Mamdani problem because it's only going to grow.
We're going to get a Trump 3.0.
Yeah, baby.
So, Harold, the latest Harris-Harvard poll that we were talking about that reflected that 35%, the majority of respondents claim that the Democrat Party was, quote, out of touch, woke, and weak. Do you agree?
No, I don't. So just remind you, in 2000, I said this last week, I think, 2013, the beginning of President Obama's second term, Jeb Bush was the front runner to be the nominee in 2016, and Donald Trump emerged out of and had the message and the agenda. In 2021, the first year of Joe Biden's administration, President Trump's popularity rating took a little bit of a hit because of some things that happened in the beginning of the year, and he reemerged. So I understand where we're going, but I look at it this way. I take Mark Cuban at his word. We do need new ideas. You're right. He should approach it the way he does on that show.
Yeah.
We did innovation in our approaches, plans for the future, actionable plans for the future. We should be willing, as we spell out these ideas, to give Trump credit where credit is due. What he's done on the border has shown us that had we changed our mind and been able to change Ms. Harris's mind or Mr. Biden's mind about what they should have been doing, we might have had a different outcome. The same is true with what we did in Iran. I think helping to eliminate or obliterate or set back their nuclear program was a good thing. But Democrats, get out and point to Mr. Trump. You said that over the last 4 years, DEI had ruined our military. For 24 years, they've been planning, figuring out ways to go after those mountains, and they did it, even with DEI. Say to the president, you are right. We welcome you in wanting to send arms and munitions to continue the things that Dems and Republicans have done for Mr. Zelensky. But say, why wait 50 days? There's no need to wait 50 days to let Russia come around. Put the hammer down on them even sooner. I'd invite the housing secretary to my district if I were in Congress, saying, you know what? I've identified 3 areas that the federal government owns and the city owns and the state owns. We can do affordable housing here. Let's figure out how we reduce the regulations to make that happen. I'd say to those who the president wants to make no taxes on tips, if you're a teacher or a nurse and you earn $85,000 a year and there's someone in your area that earns $85,000 a year mainly on tips, why should they get the tax break and you don't? Democrats introduce legislation to cure that. That's what Cuban should be saying, and I think what he's trying to say. But I don't disagree with you about what President Obama said. Saying that in the confines of a billionaire's home is very different than getting out and saying where people live, who are working every day to raise their kids, keep their neighborhood safe, et cetera.
I think that teachers should work for tips.
No tax on overtime.
Let me write that one down.
No tax on tips.
Nurses too?
Yes.
All right, guys.
Mine do.
There you go, babe. Mine too.
Biden's auto pen scandal gets worse. Dr. Fauci and others might be in serious trouble.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.